enthusiasts, and welcome to Scaled Affairs, the show where I try to rationalize my purchases while trying to fight buyer's remorse by presenting you a review of various anime figures. So be my guest and welcome today's figure on the turntable. Makise Kurisu from Steiner in this spectacular interpretation by Good Smile Company. From the moment you unbox her, it is clear that this is a very special release. Instead of the traditional window box of most scale figures, you get one without any cutouts. Some manufacturers still do this quite regular, and most of the time it feels a bit cheap because I instantly think of price figures when a windowless box is on display. But this box she comes in feels very premium, thick cardboard, partly glossy finish, and a big hinge to open it safely. Also, for a 1:7 figure, this black cube is smaller than expected. Once we open the box, we can see why this is, since Kurisu and the lavish base are packed and stored separately. This was a big surprise because I never thought that they would separate such a complicated setup into two parts. The blister has one of the strongest clamps I have ever had to pull apart, so please be careful when doing so. Also, between all the foam elements and the standard plastic foils in order to protect the figure, I noticed those small rubber pads that are glued to critical areas inside. Makes you wonder if they come up with such things after some crash tests to improve shipping safety, or just stick them in and hope for the best. Mounting your Kurisu shouldn't be that hard, but honestly I failed to push in this white little knob on her hair. It should connect to one of the screens, but for some reason the angle isn't quite right. So since I didn't want to damage the figure, and chances are high that I have to take her from the base for a figure photo anyway, I hope you can overlook that she isn't proper mounted. When I saw this one get announced in the fall of 2022, I swiftly pressed the pre-order button because, look at her. I'm almost certain I've never seen such a detailed figure with an interesting concept like this. Steiner figures are always highly regarded in the community, but in my opinion all the Kurisu figures this far did miss this little oomph in order to make them pop. But before I will elaborate any further, here are some of this figure's key specs. Let's not beat around the bush. The real star of this release is without a doubt this space contraption of stacked old school PCs and other electrical equipment. Not only does it include a variety of Easter eggs from the show, like the metal Oopa or the diversions meter, the equipment is also sculpted and painted to an extent you rarely see. Take for example the beige color of the screens. Judging from the promotion picture you would think it's a solid color, when in reality they have this grey weathering effect in parts where a real CAD would develop such discoloration. Together with all the cables, connectors and molded buttons, you can look at this thing for hours on end and still find new details. Could it be made any better? Well, for this level of details I was a bit surprised that they didn't include some characters on the keys. Also, those cut-off cables on the edge of the base do look a bit silly. Would have preferred if they ended in some sort of connectors like many of the other cables do. But this is just my taste. I know that those numbers on the screens are not random. I think it would have looked better if instead of a mostly black screen, it showed some period accurate interface like old MS-DOS or a blue screen. The timeline numbers simply do look a bit dull. Of course, some sort of illumination would have also fixed this, but for some reason built-in LED and figures still do not mix very well. Kurisu herself is also crafted near flawless with a nice pose and good paint job, but of course since her character model isn't as over the top, she stands in a bit of a contrast to this crazy base. Still, there are some small details like tiny star on her belt buckle or the zippers on the ankle boots. Her facial expression is based on the art style of creator Yuke and fits the mood perfect. You only can see one eye and her soft smile, but the part with her hand that reaches into her hair also does look great and is competently sculpted. Last but not least, we have the actual base, and although you cannot detach all the equipment from it, they went hard on those wooden planks. With all the cables and paper sheets, there is only a relatively small space empty, but they went the extra mile and covered the whole base with it. All in all, this truly is a very special release, and I'm happy that the loyal fanbase of Steiner got such a great representation of the beloved lab member number 4. If you would ask me how to make this an even better figure, I would, as previously mentioned, add some graphics to the screen and perhaps some lighting. And to blow your mind for a brief second, imagine this setup but with an even bigger base and a matching okabe leaning against the tower from the other side. But I guess the word line where this figure is a reality would also be devastating for your wallet, because this standalone version was already pretty expensive, but in my opinion also worth every penny. Next time it will be 2024 already, so time to kiss winter goodbye and go on a date. Until then, thanks for watching, and hopefully we can see each other again in a new episode of Scaled Affairs, when I once again take a closer look on anime figures of all sorts. Take care out there and keep having fun collecting.